My goodness. I really am surprised. I'm sorry my father isn't here to hear this.
She inherited it from her father, who was an attorney. The Madura Pottery Picasso goat plate is a striking example of Pablo Picasso's innovative work in ceramics. Crafted in southern France by Madura Pottery, this piece dates back to between 1947 and 1971. This plate features a simple yet expressive depiction of a goat, a subject often revisited by Picasso. The raised slip design echoes the handmade pottery aesthetic, adding to its charm. Picasso elevated ordinary ceramics into extraordinary art through techniques like incising, glazing, and painting. This one is bigger and more colorful, with splashes of blue and yellow amidst its figurative design. The goat plate, like Picasso's other ceramics, was produced in limited editions, making it highly collectible. In awe of its artistic mastery, the appraiser valued the item.
$10,000 and $15,000.
My goodness. I really am surprised. I'm sorry my father isn't here to hear this.
Wow. Well, I'm happy I brought it today.
This item belonged to the owner's father, who would have turned 100 this year. The card has a portrait of famous baseball player Babe Ruth and was among the guest's grandmother's keepsakes, later passed down within the family. It is a membership card for the Babe Ruth Home Run Candy Club from the 1920s. It was obtained by sending a written letter accompanied by the membership card. The card features Babe Ruth's tips on the back. Another tip emphasizes teamwork over individual glory. Due to its rarity among Babe Ruth collectibles, only 3 others were known to exist prior to today, making it the 4th known specimen. It originally came with a letter and mailing envelope, both extremely scarce.
Way of knowing how many of these went out. Okay. There are no records, but that's the thing with ephemera is not many people kept these things.
Condition is deemed very good despite a slight crease. At auction, it could fetch
between $1,500 and $2,000.
Wow. Well, I'm happy I brought it today.
Oh, gee, I better take good care of it then.
Prepare to be enchanted by the allure of a Ching dynasty dragon robe. The guest's great-aunt and her husband were gifted the piece in China in the early 20th century by Princess Derling. She was the commandery princess of the Ching dynasty, who was known for her writings, including several memoirs, books, and magazine articles. This piece is an informal court robe adorned with 3 dragons on the front and 5 depicted on the back. Additionally, there is a secret dragon hidden inside the flap of the robe. It is in remarkably good condition even after more than a century of its creation. This robe attests to the rich cultural heritage of the Chinese, valued at auction to be
$15,000 to $25,000 at auction.
Gosh. Oh, gee, I better take good care of it then.
Looking at this furniture, we can tell that it's quite old. The furniture is a Victorian oak sideboard. This sideboard was crafted in the 19th century. As the name suggests, it was made with oak. Typical with furniture of that era, it was handmade.
Is the carving machine done?
Absolutely not.
The columns of the lower cases of this piece are barleycorn, but they are actually copies of Solomonic columns.
Which you find in the Vatican.
This piece showcases the creativity of Victorian-era furniture makers and would auction for
$2,000 to $3,000 range.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
Today's featured art piece is a Chinese export silver punch bowl acquired by the guest at a charity auction due to their fascination with dragons.
Some people from China, they always say that it's one of the more powerful symbols in the zodiac.
Crafted in the 19th century by the Chinese company Wang Hing,
In Canton in 1854, and due to their enormous success, opened up in Hong Kong in the early part of the 20th century.
This masterpiece boasts intricately designed dragons, each separately cast and applied to the raised bowl. Additionally, the bowl showcases a captivating motif with abundant decoration. This stunning work of art, adorned with Chinese motifs and bearing a sterling silver standard mark, would have a price value of
$10,000 to $15,000.
Wow. It's pretty major.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Not many animators' models have a unique story behind them, but the story behind this Geppetto model is captivating, tracing back to Disney's 1940 full-length cartoon, Pinocchio.
It was done after the book by Carlo Collodi, and this is an animator's model from that particular movie.
It served as a reference for creating Geppetto's character, used by legendary animators.
The artists would do. They would use these to remind them of what they wanted to draw, how they wanted it to look. And if you look carefully here, you can see sticking between his feet is Figaro, his cat. It's just a really wonderful, wonderful piece.
Despite some chipping and flaking, the model's condition is remarkable, with its original features, including the intact candlewick flame. Marked with WDP for Walt Disney Productions, this piece is a genuine artifact of animation history, valued at
$6,000 and $9,000.
Wow, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
This guest brought jewelry to the show. The piece is a necklace that was made with Mughal seed pearls and Kundan set emerald. This necklace was made circa 1895 and was manufactured in the Old Indian style, which involved a method of carving into the emerald.
Set the gemstones, and then they hammer in lines of very high carat gold. The stones are seed pearls and rubies.
The stones of the piece are seed pearls and rubies. This antique Indian jewelry is in demand and would fetch a sum of
$4,000 to $6,000.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
At first glance, this richly decorated enamel egg looks like a Fabergé egg, but on closer inspection, we find out it's not. Although the piece looks like a Fabergé egg, it's something often called Fabergé. One of the hints to show it's a fake is the decorations done on the piece.
Sort of punched work out. Each one should be individually chased.
Okay.
And then also on the wreaths, each one of those should be individually hand chased, and these ones have come out of a mold.
On opening the egg, we see that it has split pearls and diamonds in it, which are single-cut diamonds and not rose-cut ones, which are usually in original Fabergé eggs. On the underside of the egg, too, are marks that aim to look original, but show that the piece is an intentional fake. This piece, even though it's not original but a copy, would still fetch a sum of
$3,000 and $4,000.
Okay.
A look at this jewelry set would leave one astonished. The set, comprising a necklace and earrings, was passed down to our guest. The pieces are acid-etched gold and were made circa 1870. The necklace once had a pendant on it, while the chain, although original to the piece, is old woven. The pieces have no markings or signature on them, and as such, we can't tell if they were made in Europe or America. But we can tell that they're Victorian-era jewelry with wireworks done around the earrings.
That around the starburst, and the starburst is a very common element in Victorian jewelry, and then they're again repeating these balls.
This beautiful 10-carat Victorian necklace and earrings are a fine example of 19th century jewelry craftsmanship, and at retail value would be worth
$6,000 and $8,000.
Oh, wow. Nice. Very nice.
Crafted by the renowned sculptor and painter Eugene Shard. This carved wood sculpture from 1926 captures a rich history, blending artistic mastery with the cultural essence of early 20th century America. Shard was a prominent sculptor, having studied under notable artists.
On a pedestal. The artist is really a wonderful artist. She's part of a group of women artists working in the early part of the 20th century.
This sculpture, crafted from walnut, depicts a woman from the Santo Domingo Pueblo, reflecting Shard's time in Santa Fe and her connections with local artists.
From the front, but it is three-dimensional and has pretty dramatic drapery on the back. And then this side here is signed Eugene Shard, 1926.
Unlike most of Shard's bronze work, this sculpture's carved wood medium adds to its uniqueness and is worth
retail value probably in the $5,000 to $8,000 range.
Nice, very good.
This bronze sculpture stands as a silent sentinel of history. It was purchased by this guest and her husband in an antique shop in Arizona in 1965. The fascinating item was crafted by Christophe Fratin, a noted French sculptor in the animalier style, and one of the earliest French sculptors to portray animals in bronze.
People like these animals, they like this whole subject, especially the violence of these figures in their natural setting.
Dating back to circa 1850, the sculpture is a testament to Fratin's craftsmanship, and the technique used to produce it is called sand casting.
Very nicely detailed and beautifully finished with the original patina on it.
The parts of the figurine were cast separately and then assembled together. At the bottom of the item, we can observe how the attachments were made. Upon further inspection, we can discern the maker's signature around the base. At auction, a bronze sculpture of this quality, being one of Fratin's works, would be valued at
$10,000 in
Well, that's
shop.
good to know. That's good to know.
We are presented with a classic yearbook, a piece of history that evokes a timeless essence. This yearbook from the class of 1943 at Eastside High School in New Jersey. It was brought onto the show by a guest who was a classmate of a notable figure featured in the yearbook.
Had you had the yearbook out?
The yearbook has been in a closet for maybe 70 years now, 72 years.
The notable figure is the well-known Allen Ginsberg, an American poet and writer best known for his poem, The Poem. In the book, we can see Ginsberg's senior portrait and his signature. There's also an interesting poem written to the guest by Ginsberg, visible at the back of the book. As a signed yearbook with a personal connection to such an exceptional figure, it would fetch a high auction value.
$10,000.
Well, maybe it's not going back in the closet. I don't know.
The guest brought in 2 letters and photos featuring Rocky Marciano, the renowned American professional boxer. Recounting their warm relationship, the guest shared their first meeting with Marciano in 1954.
I met him first in 1954 when he came to California to train for a fight. He trained at Lake Arrowhead, California, and I was teaching in San Bernardino, which is not far from there.
The photos were captured at Lake Arrowhead, a spot where Marciano frequently invited the guest and her boyfriend. Upon examination, the appraiser highlighted the signature on the back of the photos. The letters, dating back to 1955, revealed Marciano's affection for his family and his anticipation of their visit during his training. Additionally, they delved into Marciano's boxing career, his remarkable record, and his significance as an inspiration for the Rocky film series. Considering the scarcity of Marciano's handwritten material, the suggested value was
$5,000. Well, I don't plan to part with them.
The guest presented a miniature desk inherited from her mother, an avid antique collector. The appraiser examined the desk's features, such as chased brass hardware held with cotter pins, indicating early craftsmanship. The desk depicted an older look with a handmade lock, rosehead nails, and hand-planed wood. This wonderful piece suggests an 18th century origin, likely made in Boston around 1750. The desk, constructed of walnut with white pine secondary wood, was likely crafted for a child's use. Given the desk's beauty and historical value, its potential worth would be
$5,000 to $7,000 for this piece.
That's terrific. Yeah, that's a beautiful piece.
Our guest acquired this piece from a chiropractor in Denver named Dr. Niblack. Dr. Niblack was a renowned American artist known for his craftsmanship that reflects the spirit of Western America. He collaborated with Disney Productions on animation projects and created dioramas with motorized figures that were exhibited by the Smithsonian Institution. In addition to hundreds of his figural carvings, he also designed his own version of Western furniture, of which this piece is an excellent example, and in this excellent condition, this piece would sell for at least
$3,000 to $5,000 or thereabouts. So about what you paid for it.
Right.
Imagine having the world at your feet embodied in this terrestrial floor globe, a captivating centerpiece that allows you to explore it firsthand. This guest recounts the tale of how her grandmother came to possess this piece.
Furniture, when they were done, they'd ship it all home. So I've got a collection of stuff from all over the world.
On the globe's surface, an inscription reveals the company responsible for its creation, Newton and Son Company.
Newton's made globes in all sizes, from little tiny pocket globes that lived in a case to mantle globes, tabletop globes, bookshelf globes, and ultimately this monumental floor globe.
Additionally, the location and date of manufacture, 1844, are clearly visible. Interestingly, the stand supporting the globe is much older, dating back to circa 1810. Upon the globe's surface, one can observe meticulously drawn maps of the world. Due to its age, the varnish covering the paper-mounted globe has oxidized. This globe stands as a testament to the craftsmanship and ingenuity of a bygone era. At auction, its estimated worth is
the $30,000 to $50,000 range.
Really? Yeah. Oh my God, I got a bargain. Yeah. One of my roadshow bargains, that's great.
The guest presented a Chinese polychrome item, uncertain of its function. While initially referred to as a pillow, it was actually identified as an armrest. The appraiser mentioned that it was used in northern Chinese homes on a platform called a kang. Made of porcelain, which has a cooling effect, the armrest was particularly used in summer. The item was decorated with various designs, including Taoist immortals and auspicious scenes meant to be visually engaging. The piece from the late 19th century featured lively decorations reflecting post-Civil War China. Additionally, it featured cash coin motifs for both decoration and structural integrity during firing. Originally valued at $1,500, the estimated auction value was
of $5,000 to $7,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got a bargain. Yeah. One of my roadshow bargains, that's great.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, that's amazing.
Books are often termed windows to the soul, and today's books acquired by this guest at a yard sale are quite wonderful. They are books signed and inscribed by Langston Hughes. Hughes was an American poet, novelist, and playwright who was best known as a leader of the Harlem Renaissance. The first book, simply signed by Hughes, was published in 1940 and is a first edition of The Big C, while the second book, published in 1953, Simple Takes a Wife, is signed and inscribed by Hughes.
These simple tales for Gene Howard, sincerely simple, not Howard, but Shaw. Langston Hughes.
The most famous of these books is the third piece, published in 1956, and it is signed and inscribed by Hughes.
It's a signed first edition in a dust jacket, especially for Gene Shaw, My Second Life.
Collectively, these 1 signed and 2 inscribed pieces from one of the most important American writers of the 20th century at retail value would be worth
$8,000 to $10,000.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, that's amazing.
Displayed on the show is an old silver trophy once owned by the guest's grandfather, a Bentley car racer. This distinguished Wakefield Cup, dating back to 1931, commemorates excellence in pre-war racing with the Vintage Sports Car Club. While a mere piece of silver might fetch around $15,000, this silver cup, tied to the guest's grandfather as a recipient, is sure to command a much higher price at auction.
$20,000. Wow. So it is a heck of a trophy.
Just a glance at this print would make one fall in love with the scenery depicted. The print is from a fairly famous painting called The Horse Fair from the 19th century by a female artist named Rosa Bonheur. Bonheur was a French artist who was widely considered to be the most famous female painter of the 19th century. This print came about due to a relationship between Bonheur and a gallery owner.
A relationship with a print publisher and a print gallery owner named Goupil, and he showed a number of her paintings, traveled around, and came to the United States.
And was made through a process called chromolithography. This print is quite incredible because there are rarely many of its size, along with the fact that it's still in the original wood used to hold it. This print, because of its size, rarity, and the beautiful image it depicts, would be auctioned at
At 8,000 to 9,000.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
This is a historical cartographic representation of the United States in 1845. Our guest bought this map from its maker, Samuel Augustus Mitchell. Frustrated with the lack of good geographies and atlases in his school, Mitchell entered the cartography business and founded his company during the 1830s and 1840s. This wall map is one of his works. Samuel Mitchell was an American geographer born in Connecticut. This wall map depicts the United States during the 19th century. Although there's a little bit of wear on this piece, it is significant to the history of the development of the United States and is worth
$2,500 to $3,000.
The essence and valor of this Indian hunting sword are truly remarkable. It was purchased by our guest's grandfather at an antique shop in England circa 1953.
1953 when he was stationed there for the Air Force. And that's about all I know. My grandma's had it ever since.
The sword, known as a shamshir, was made in India and features Kaftkari work. Its iron hilt is inlaid with gold, while the pommel boasts a parrot motif. We can also admire floral designs inlaid with gold across the surface. Additionally, there's a Persian inscription on the sword. The sword's blade was forged with Damascus steel.
If you had that polished a bit more, you could actually see the grain much more pronounced than it is.
At auction, this beautifully crafted sword would command a significant value of
$3,000.
Neck rests are cultural artifacts that offer comfort and connection. A person checked Martin's item, and Martin, a teacher, mentioned using it to teach his students about headrests worldwide. The question of its authenticity left Martin and his friends eager for an answer. Confirming its authenticity, the person explained it's from Somalia, used by women with fancy hairstyles. They noticed marks from use and praised its designs. These are nice marks on the edges where it's been used a lot. When picked up, you can see that it's been on the ground. Also, it has pretty Islamic designs mixing Africa and Islam together. Though from the 1920s or 1930s, Martin, who got it cheap, appreciated the appraisal and the person thanked them for sharing. While examining the condition of the neck rest, the appraiser said,
$500 to $700. Wow. So is that a reasonable investment?
Sure.
The Art Nouveau movement of the 19th century birthed this piece, a French portrait of a boy characteristic of the high-quality portrait painting of the early 19th century.
The costume is very elegant, the boy is very lovely and just beautifully painted, very romantic.
The frame of the painting tells another story. Its designs depict Austrian-Hungarian origins, bearing motifs of a maiden and lotus leaves, waves all intricately engraved to create an exquisite design style on the frame. The portrait, with its French style and origin, features a romantic depiction of a young man in a beautiful costume, which puts its value at
between $1,500 and $2,500.
Okay.
The frame, bearing a unique design and dating further back than the portrait, is estimated to be worth
between $2,000 and $3,000.
A sewing box carved by the guest's great-uncle Frederick Kyer was showcased. The item had won the award for Best Carved Work at the New York Exposition in 1865. Crafted from 3 pieces of holly wood, it bore a plaque attributing the carving to Kyer and dated 1861. The guest also brought a medal awarded to Kyer and bore an inscription with his name.
I was able to do some research on him, and based upon New York State Assembly documents, he received a diploma award for a spectacular wood carving specimen, and that was printed in 1864.
The appraiser described the basket as a spectacular example of Kyer's work. The lovely piece bore resemblance to Black Forest carving, indicating the artist's German descent. Additionally, the piece exhibited wonderfully carved birds over a nest with eggs, surrounded by a beautiful floral bouquet. Inside, the basket revealed removable paper-lined tiers, showcasing its functionality as a sewing box. The piece preserved its original color as it was kept under a glass dome. The exceptional piece was estimated to be valued at
$15,000 and $20,000.
During the campaign of one of the great presidents of the United States, Richard Milhous Nixon, women wore this dress to support him. This guest bought it at a thrift shop 25 years ago.
Thrift shop about 25 years ago for $10, and it just had a little tag on it that said Nixon dress.
Nixon, who served as the 37th President of the United States, was known for ending American involvement in Vietnam combat in 1973 and concluding the anti-ballistic missile treaty with the Soviet Union. In his effort to obtain votes from the female population, Nixon had this clothing made for women to promote his campaign. This dress is a testament to his support for women's rights and holds great significance to U.S. history, putting its estimated value at
$400 and $600. So you did great.
Nice, yeah.
The speed at which information travels in this century is truly remarkable, unlike the 19th century, from which this manuscript originates. These are Confederate Floridian newspapers from the American Civil War, utilized by the guest's great-grandfather, a state senator, for research.
And probably used it for research when he was putting through the Confederate Veterans Pension Fund for the state of Florida.
The newspapers document the events that unfolded during the war from 1862 through 1865. What's particularly fascinating is that the information from the battles often arrived late. For instance, the assassination of Abraham Lincoln was reported in the newspapers about a week after his death.
This one has the details of the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Whoever compiled this binder thought enough to save 2 copies of that paper.
These Confederate newspapers are exceedingly rare because the Confederacy faced several shortages of supplies during the war, resulting in limited production of these papers and of great significance to the history of the United States. This volume of history is valued at
$4,000 to $6,000 for the volume.
This Muller Freres vase was passed down to the guest by her uncle. It was crafted by a company called Muller Freres, and this company, during the early 20th century, was known to be top of the glass-making industry. The vase is very well crafted and designed to stand out. This beauty was known to be a trademark of the company at the time.
Louisville was the first place they were. Probably the best known for this type of glass was Emile Gallet,
which clearly explains why they were leaders in their industry. As a fragile piece of art, this French vase, in its superior condition, would auction at
$4,000 to $6,000, and with a good wind behind you on a day, maybe $5,000 to $8,000.
At first glance, this document might not reveal how truly important it is.
But the document that you brought in is really significant because of who it was given to. Who was that?
But this document was responsible for one of the most important expeditions in American history. It is called the Meriwether-Lewis Commission document, and it was signed by Thomas Jefferson to appoint Meriwether-Lewis as a captain in charge of an expedition known as Lewis and Clark Expedition.
From 1804 to 1806, went from St. Louis to the Pacific and back. Congress authorized the expedition.
These expeditions were significant because it aimed to open up trade ties with Native Americans at the time. Given its longevity for centuries, this commissioning document would auction at
$25,000 and $35,000.
In 1968, a man received a cherished trombone from Mr. Zimmerman's son, confident that the music-loving couple would appreciate it. This Kahn trombone, once played by Leo Zimmerman in Sousa's band, dates to 1929 and boasts intricate engravings. Originally believed to be from 1913, its true date and exceptional condition, along with custom mouthpieces and Sousa Zimmerman items, enhance its rarity. The ephemera may include paper documents and metal mouthpieces. These items are relevant to the history and usage of the trombone. It remains a great piece in immaculate condition, treasured by the couple's son, until his teacher deemed it too valuable. While examining the condition of the item, the appraiser said,
$3,000 range.
Very, very good.
Looking at the picture done on this plaque, you would think it's a man wearing a woman's clothing, but it's actually a picture of a woman. The piece was made using a term called Delft pottery, which was named after a city in Holland, and was made circa 1898 by a company called Porcelain Flies. Porcelain Flies was probably the most respected Delft company of the 19th and 20th centuries. The picture in the plaque is a copy of a famous Rembrandt painting, whose original is hanging in the Rijksmuseum in the Netherlands.
On pottery, had to paint it, they could only really use one color, and that's the traditional color that they normally use on Delft pottery. So the original painting, of course, was not blue.
This piece, a copy of an original painting and done by the Porcelain Flies Delft, would be worth
$1,500 to $2,500 range.
Good. My fear was you're going to tell me where it was going to be so pricey I couldn't keep it hanging on my wall.
Today's piece is a funky-looking old piece of furniture that was passed down to this guest by his grandmother. The piece is a really rare and interesting chair called a charming chair. From the craftsmanship of the chair, we can tell it was made in the 18th century and was probably made in North Carolina, possibly Southern Virginia.
And the history of this chair would take us all the way back, I'm thinking, to the first half of the 18th century.
There's a great little simple baluster turning on the rear style of the chair, and it is composed almost entirely of ash wood.
A kind of wood that takes turning very well, and it was used a lot in this kind of chair.
Upon closer inspection, we can see that the seat of the chair has been changed to a rush seat, which isn't the original. This piece of furniture that has 300 years of history and shows early American wood craftsmanship should be worth
maybe $6,000. Wow. I'm thrilled you brought it in here. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much.
Inherited by the guest from his mother, this oil painting on masonite holds a unique history.
I bought a painting which I inherited about 30 years ago, and it has remained in our family. I think it's been in since about 1955, maybe.
It was sold by the artist himself, Bernard Goss, an American artist renowned for his contributions to the Chicago art scene. Notably, Goss was married to Margaret Burroughs, a highly influential artist who founded the Southside Community Art Center. The guest's mother's affiliation with the Southside Community Center likely provided her with insights into Goss's work. This painting, dating back to the seminal years of the Civil Rights Movement in 1954, holds particular significance. Titled Counterpoint, it depicts an African-American woman playing a piano while a white woman danced behind her. This extraordinary piece serves as a poignant portrayal of desegregation and the fervent pursuit of equality during that era, and has an estimated value of
$25,000. It depends what kind of appraisal you get.
The guest received a sculpture from his sister, who had acquired it from a friend. The appraiser recognized the piece as the work of William Zorach, a renowned sculptor. The artist transitioned his career from abstract painting to sculpture. They inspected the impressive sculpture, taking note of Zorach's signature on it. The piece, made of mahogany, showcased his exceptional carving skills and captured the personality of the cat remarkably well. Additionally, the piece was crafted from 2 pieces of wood and depicted a seamless joint. As most of Zorach's work was in bronze, this particular wooden sculpture was considered special. The rarity of carved wood pieces and their lifelike quality added vitality to the piece. Given its size and exceptional craftsmanship, the potential worth was determined to be. The unique design of this lampshade is like no other, as its intricate vine border pattern weaves a timeless elegance that sets it apart from the rest. It's a Tiffany Studios vine border lampshade that dates back to the early 20th century.
If you talk to probably anybody who handles Tiffany, they're going to call this the acorn.
What is the vine?
But I know it's the vine border.
This shade is versatile in its aesthetic appeal, suiting both arts and crafts and modern interiors, due to its more subtle coloration compared to other vibrant Tiffany pieces. Despite the absence of the lampshade original fixture, it's still a stunning piece of art valued at
$10,000. That would be a retail value.